search by policy.
Okay, it is 9:05. We'll call the meeting to order. Do you have any additions or deletions to the agenda?
None.
I have one change and one deletion.
Okay.
Under existing policies, 6B is labeled as E3. That is a typo. That is supposed to be B4.
Before. Okay.
And then I still do not have minutes. All my minutes time has been going to our school board minutes.
Or that.
Which I sent an email to Bill and Rich this morning saying I can't do anymore. It's I don't want to go into it right now. But so I will have to have all of these for us when we meet in August. I don't think we meet in July, right?
Nope, we're skipping July because I'm on vacation the week that we would typically hit. So
I will have 3 for us then. So we'll skip review, public comment and discussion. There's no public. Review and approve minutes. We're going to skip that. Correspondence. I don't have any. Do you?
none at all.
Okay. And existing policies. B3, alcohol and drug-free workplace. This is an easy one for us. It's really short. VSBA updated it March 20th of 2020. They added a legal reference to 18 VSA 4230A and 18 VSA 4474C. And they removed footnote 9. And very straightforward policy.
Mark it as reviewed. I think it looks, yeah. Do we need to make any changes since they did footnotes and such?
No, I think those are good question. Let's see what they say. I think we can mark it as reviewed with these changes. I don't see any reason to post. The chances that if there are 100 people that read this policy, the chances that one read those footnotes is close to 0. So I'm not too concerned about it. So let's mark it as reviewed. And if the board wants to do something different, then we will. So you want to make that a motion?
I will make a motion to mark policy B3 as reviewed on 6/11. Well, then we'll bring it to the next meeting at 6. We did the 7th, so 21st. Yep.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There we go. One down.
Boom. Boom.
E3. Well, I'm sorry, not E3. B4.
B4, drug and alcohol.
Yep.
With transportation employees.
Which is important for us. VSBA updated this back in October 11th of 2019, and they removed a legal reference. Other than that, they did not make any changes. Having read through the policy, I did not see any changes that I thought needed to be made. We did. I don't know. I don't remember if you were on the email or not. Matt did say that he wasn't going to be able to make it, but that he saw these as all 4 of these essentially as legal, legalese policies that he felt we were best suited for reviewing. Aw.
Do you need me to save you? Is the cat bothering you? You'll be okay.
Get me away from that little thing.
He's crazy.
How old is he?
2. He just turned 2 in March.
Young, young pup.
Just a baby.
So
Matt wanted to move forward with pretty much all of these.
yeah, he felt that they weren't ones that they needed to, or that he needed to.
Straightforward.
I did not hear from Tammy, but today's graduation, so I'm assuming she's pretty busy. Yeah, like I said, I read through it. I didn't see anything that I thought needed to be changed. How about yourself?
I did not see anything that was a red flag in any way, shape, or form. So I agree that we should stick close to the language. So we should mark policy. I move that we mark policy B4 as reviewed and bring it to the meeting on 6/21.
So we're going to recommend to the board that it get marked as reviewed,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
So I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
And all black.
All black. A touch of gray. Not much though. It's faded more. Hey,
So
be gentle.
I miss having a cat that I could just pick up and hold. My little baby died a few months ago.
Aw.
Okay, C10, prevention of harassment, hazing, bullying, and bullying policy. So last updated quite a while ago by the VSBA, December 5 of 2015. They did update, I updated the information in Appendix A by adding a phone number and correcting Matt's email. Corrected a couple typos here and there, some grammatical errors, but other than that, no substantive change. Thoughts? It's not a short policy, but
No, I think we should stay close to, the language, keep the language and just move it forward. So since it was just minor details, can we just do it as reviewed? Like,
I
Okay.
believe so. There's corrected information, not changed information. So I think we can go ahead and recommend to the board that we mark it as reviewed.
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There we go.
C10. Prevention of harassment. Oh wait, that was C10.
This is C10P, which is a procedure, which we don't, it's sort of like the affidavit. The board doesn't vote on it, but we can make changes to it if we want the administration to make the changes. And it too was last updated by the VSBA December of 2015, and they did not make any changes, and I did not note any changes that I felt were necessary. I don't actually honestly remember it all that well though. There's 10P. This is marked as a policy, which is interesting.
How do they have it? They don't have it. Yeah, they don't have it as a policy on their thing.
The VSBA?
Yeah, it just says code 10P model procedures on the prevention of harassment, hazing, and bullying.
Yeah, so I'm gonna
So maybe remove the word policy and call it model procedures. Or just, procedure, because we don't need model. That's a good point.
Yeah. I think the well, before I speak out of turn, let's see what. So the old one was not marked as a policy. I just copied the header.
Okay.
So
So you've updated it on the first page, but then on subsequent pages, the header is also saying policy.
yeah, the first page is a different. It's a different header.
Yep. There you go.
Oops. And so I did read through it and I didn't see anything that needed to be changed. I do think that when we are at our meeting on the 21st, that we should ask Matt and Tammy if they have any thoughts on it, and I'll email them, give them a heads up that we're going to ask them that.
Okay.
Because, like I said, there's nothing for us to vote on, unless we want to make changes, in which case, you know, we can recommend them. But did you see anything that you thought was?
I didn't see anything that made me feel like it was missing or lacking anything.
It is at this point a 7-year-old, 7-year-old policy. So Matt, Tammy, or Bill, for that matter, may have suggestions. So I will make sure to email them and ask.
Yeah, and I think just being mindful of calling it a procedure and not a policy.
Did I just call it a policy?
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry.
no worries. Yeah, just to call out the difference.
Absolutely.
And I'll be curious if any board members have concerns about it being a document. Yeah, we'll see how people feel about that, but it makes sense to me to have it, the procedure, documented.
So what's your concern?
Oh, no, I'm good.
Okay.
Nothing of note.
So let's move on.
All right. So new policies.
I think I sent an email to. I sent an email to the VSBA asking them. I haven't heard back, which is odd. We talked about referring to the capital funds policy. We talked about a few guidelines for it last time. I don't have anything new. I will contact Sandy at the VSBA again.
Just kind of nudge the email along.
They've been the end of the legislative session was really, really busy for them, more than usual. So
I could imagine so, with the waiting study and with where there were other things on the table too, weren't there?
oh my God, yeah, there were 9 or 10 bills, and a lot of them of substance. The pension bill includes the educators and administration, and obviously boards.
Oh yeah, what's going on with the pension?
A task force, like
Oh, okay.
like almost everything else that they did this session, they created a task force. They created more task forces this session than they ever have before. The lovely excuse of not being able to legislate over Zoom, despite the fact that they spent more money over Zoom than the state has ever spent. So we'll leave it at that. So anyway, that's probably why I didn't hear back from Sandy, and the email may have just gotten lost. So I will remind her. So I don't have anything for that.
Okay.
Other business. You wanted to go through the policies to consider because we had gone through the required amended already.
So do you have like a list and like sheets or anything about like almost like a chart of like all the policies and then like, you know, kind of dates on when we've done it and stuff like that? That might
If you
be
do,
handy.
if you go to policy.rvusd.net,
Okay.
that's just the web page version of the spreadsheet that I maintain, and I can send you a link to the spreadsheet also.
Okay, I see it. So do we have anything that's coming up?
We have, I think, 4 policies for July or 3 policies. I may have already adjusted the date since we're not, but I may or may not have. I don't remember. But every month we have 2 to 4 policies to review.
Okay, I see the couple July, so yeah, I'll bump those to August.
Yeah. So I'll adjust the, and then we have down in the future agenda items, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 5 policies that we talked about a month ago that we want to at least look at. So we'll have to disperse those throughout the next few months. I do want to talk about the board norms, but let's go through the policies to consider, and then we'll get down to the future agenda items.
Okay.
So, were you able to attend the new board member?
No,
You weren't?
no,
Okay.
I didn't prioritize that.
Have you received the manual thing yet?
No, not a physical copy. Is there a copy on the VSBA site? There is, isn't there?
No, there is not. There are parts of it. It's actually, we just passed our new budget, and in that budget, like literally last night, no, 2 nights ago, we decided not to charge boards anymore for the cost of that book. And we will be sending 1 PDF to every SEU, which in the past they've had to pay for, which the supers will be able to disperse to board members. So if you haven't received, and I asked Rich twice to have a manual sent to you, but I know that he's also been really overwhelmed. So if you haven't received the hard copy by then we can definitely get the PDF from Bill.
I'll keep an eye out for it. Yeah.
And I can ask, I don't know if they'll send me the PDF, but I will ask the executive director if she can send me the PDF to give to you.
Okay.
Because you may not be sent a new a manual because you were appointed.
Last year.
Yeah, at the beginning of the year, but essentially mid-year. Like I didn't receive one because I was appointed mid-year. So I will ask Sue to. either send it directly to you or through me. No promises on that though. All right, policies, manual policy, manual policy no, model policy manual. There we go, Mark. We still don't have an updated C21. That's been sitting with the lawyers for how many months now?
Oh, search and seizure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure it's probably not the hottest thing on their list. So should we ask Bill to nudge it along?
No, if anybody can nudge it along, it would be me.
Okay.
But I think it will be, because, you know, VSBA is well, it's board members. So the Principals Association, I don't think would weigh in directly on that.
Oh, okay. I was thinking it was probably the lawyer for our SU.
Oh.
And so I didn't know if Bill was the liaison for that lawyer or if it was a different lawyer.
Yeah, it's the VSBIT, who does the legal reviews of policies for the VSBA. All right, so policies to
Consider.
Thank you. I actually did have breakfast this morning. 8:30, roll on adoption of school board policies. All right, so first of all, we have any of these?
All right, so this is it's a policy to consider.
Yeah, so we do not have
8:30 in our world.
We don't have any of the A's. So roll on adoption of school board policies. Let's see, this was last updated 2013.
So maybe it's just stood the test of time, or
good question. This almost seems like you know, standard practice procedure. I think my personal opinion was that this would be a less is more type one, that we don't need this. But that's just me.
no, I think it's more of it's a guideline. It's not even it would be almost helpful to read before you start going through the policies, but that would be it. That, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of the, I mean, the details about you know, having to post and warn and all that, that's all in statute. And then there is nothing in statute about like when something gets marked as reviewed, you know, like what is acceptable. There's nothing in statute about that, which is why we kind of fly by the seat of our pants at this point. So yeah, so let's move on to 831, board member education. This has not been updated since 2009. I actually don't think this would be a bad policy, but I think it needs to be updated before we would implement something like this.
You want them to look at it within the last decade?
That'd be nice.
Yeah. It would, it's definitely a good procedure, to encourage all boards to maintain continuing education for the board members. Like, it would almost be neat, like, but our meetings are so long right now to begin with that I would hate to add something else, but like if you added like every now and again like a continuing ed piece to the meeting itself, like, but right now we're already hitting a pretty good time
I mean,
threshold.
that is, I mean, the VSBA does offer that. They will do individual board trainings, which wouldn't necessarily have to be at one of our meetings, but you and I being the newest board members, and I think you and I are the only ones who are not leftovers from the Dover and Wardsboro boards. I would have found some level of education really helpful when I joined the board. There was a lot of grasping at straws, not knowing, and I'm sure you felt the same way. Maybe still do, because I do at times. So I wouldn't mind taking a look at this policy down the road. I can ask the VSBA to look at it and maybe update it. That was A31, right?
Yes, board member education A31. Oh, they've got a couple, like they've got a board goal setting one that also hasn't been touched in the same time frame. Oh, and the school visits by board members. And all of those, that whole section, the first one is the only one that's been reviewed within this last decade. Nothing else has been touched since 2009. Whoa.
All right. The visits by school board members, I can tell you that was considered a couple of years ago, and the board felt it wasn't. And that was before I was on the board, I think. Felt that it wasn't necessary. I think I'd probably feel the same way about A32, that it probably is not necessary. That's kind of that's part of the chair's job, and the superintendent's job to do those. Board relations with school personnel. This actually may be the some things from this. What is this? A34 that could go on to a board norms that I'll talk about in a little bit.
It's definitely interesting though, because if you think about the board and the dynamics, like, yeah, it would be interesting to see. Well, and now we're in this whole other boat of like, you know, getting less people to interact is actually a beneficial thing, but
yeah. I shortly after I joined the board, I went in and I met with Matt. Now I knew him prior from having gone to board meetings for a couple of years, but I went in, met with him, and he gave me a tour of the facility. Since, you know, not having a child, I, you know, never had an opportunity to see the building. And I've had all the intentions in the world of doing the same with Tammy, but the pandemic sort of got in the way of that. So I will next year. So I think it is important for board members to do that, but I don't think it's something that you put into a policy. I think
No.
that individual board members have to take it upon themselves to build a relationship with the people that we're working with. And there are no problems with that. The problems would be if, if you start talking about an individual teacher or an individual student, that you can't do. But, talking about how things work, I know for me, it was enlightening. I mean, I haven't been in elementary school in 40 years almost. So it was good.
That's kind of one of the benefits of having pickups and drop offs. She started riding the bus recently, so I don't do the morning drop off anymore, but I do the afternoon pickup, and it gives me a chance to like actually, see the principal and some of the staff and like say hello to them. So
Yeah.
that's kind of one of the nice parts about being able to do pickup as often as I do.
I think that's really important for parents.
Well,
And
and yeah.
And for the
Yep.
staff. I mean, it's like anything, like interacting with anybody in life. If you know them personally, if you can put a face to it, you're going to be a lot more empathetic and understanding than if it's just I don't want to say the wrong thing here. Just a name on a piece of paper or in an email.
Yeah. Sometimes I get the feeling though that like they want us to have more of a distance though, because when they're talking contractually and such, like it seems like there's a dynamic that they're kind of looking to preserve almost with the
I
number
think,
and such.
yeah, I mean, I think that aspect of things is probably, I think the business aspect of things is one that parents should not be discussing. And board members definitely not. I mean, it would be very inappropriate for us to not illegal, but inappropriate for us to get into a discussion like that. And there's no question that the NEA, the Vermont NEA, is a very strong. The teachers do not. I'm turning my video off because
Oh, okay.
I'm going. Yeah, I can see my video. Is that better? Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, no, I can hear.
So yeah, anyway, the NEA is a very strong union. They stand up for themselves extremely well. So I don't. While I'm not as anti-union or anti-NEA as some other board members that we have are, I do know how strong they are, and I don't worry that the teachers are getting the representation that they need. All right, so let's move on to section B. Personnel, staffing and job descriptions. I'm not even going to open that. I think that is the purview of the superintendent.
That makes sense.
Educator, supervision, evaluation, and probationary teachers. Do we not have that?
Where are we at on that one?
Nope, we don't. We don't have.
I feel like that should be a procedure that the school,
Yeah.
not a policy at the school board level.
That makes sense.
And like all these other ones, they haven't been reviewed since 2009 for the consider ones. I don't like how the VSBA breaks it up into the 3 sections. So you can't just look at all the personnels under one grouping.
Yeah, they before they revamped the website, it was you went to B, personnel, and then it was 3 sections under personnel. I found that a lot easier.
Yeah, like the RVSU policy list that you've got is a lot easier to read instead of jumping through the 3 different categories and looking for that under that section. So required, we have all the requireds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. And then recommended 20, 21, 22.
The 22, we actually have to renumber 22A or what is it?
Z. Yeah.
Yeah,
Public complaints.
Yeah, 22A we'll have to renumber when we come back around to that.
Okay.
Or maybe before then, but yeah, we went through all the required and recommended policies at our last meeting.
Oh, okay.
So I think all we have left are the policies to consider. I see the rest of the policies under B, personnel, 31, 32, and 33. I see those also as, I see them all as superintendent procedures.
Yep.
Not policies. So you agree?
I do agree.
Okay. C30. We do not have C30, which is good because I don't think we want to have that.
No.
That should be at the guidance of the district nurse.
Agreed.
That should put a procedure like that together. C31, we have a version of, that is our C50 that we have warned. We don't have to worry about C32. At least I hope we don't.
Not that I'm aware of at this point.
If we ever have to worry about that, then I think we've got really big problems. Student assessment. I think that, again, this is probably more important in the secondary world than in the primary world, because our RSU does a good job and a lot of it is state mandate. That said, I'm open to it if you want to discuss it.
I don't think we need to. I don't think we need to add in too many things.
Well, that was weird. That was actually right. State assessment. Where are we? Student assessment. That's actually, oh, it's just the file name is
The file
F20.
name is wrong when you, when you open it in a new tab, it's like F22 instead of C33. So I wonder if they reallocated it and didn't update that section.
Yeah, about 5 years ago, they redid the entire, maybe it was longer than that. They redid the entire numbering scheme. So clearly they didn't update the file name, but yeah, okay. Restraint and seclusion.
That, so they did it 3/30/2020. And I hope that our schools aren't in the point where they have to do that with any of the students, but that feels tricky to me, because if we have it as a policy, then they have to follow every detail of it. And that would be very tricky to do in the moment. I don't know. I feel like that's a tricky one.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I don't, my head sort of says that something should be in place, but having a detailed policy like this, I think actually is probably problematic.
Because if the person that's in the heightened situation doesn't follow this to the letter, does that put that person at a huge risk?
Absolutely, but also every situation is different. You know,
Yeah.
you can't prescribe, um, you can't prescribe a policy or procedure that's going to cover every student's personality and every behavioral situation. You know, it just, I think this is something that we have to leave up to the administration to have proper procedures, and then the, you know, the principals and the teachers to evaluate situations and make good decisions. I just don't see that as being a good policy for us.
Yeah.
All right,
No,
so let's,
I think we should leave it.
yeah,
Not
yeah.
move forward with that one at all.
I don't mind taking on controversial policies, but I just don't see that as one that gets us to a good point.
No.
No matter what we do. So, all right, so let's move on to D, instruction. Field trips was removed. Selecting library material. I have a feeling that that could open up a can of worms also.
I know it. Okay, who can keep up anymore with what's good and what's? I mean, I'm sure it's a constant cultivation of the selection for librarians these days as our culture becomes more woken. Yeah, I don't know.
I think this is why we pay a librarian. And actually this procedure doesn't, this is a procedure, this is policy, this is almost more procedure.
I don't think we need it. I think
No.
that's a policy we don't need to, you know, if it comes up in some way, shape, or form that there's something going on that, you know, the students aren't getting a good selection, then we could visit it. But at this point in time, I don't feel it's a hot item of concern for our district.
I agree. All right, so D32, selection of instructional materials. Again, this is a teacher, this is a teacher's decision, with some guidance from administration, which gets guidance from the state. I don't think we should be getting involved in what goes on in the details of what goes on in a classroom like this. It's not our job.
No, I don't feel that we have the knowledge base that our educators do that make more sense for them to be. Yeah. So no, I don't think we should move forward with that one.
Great. Local action plan. What is this?
Goals and associated resources needed to improve student performance. I think this is more,
Right. Which
I
one are you
don't think we need it. D33.
Local action plan?
Oh, yep. Yep. And then when you click it open, it like the top says G8, but the local action plan.
Okay.
They haven't touched this since December 2005. I think we should follow suit.
Yeah. I don't. I'm reading through it, and it's outdated.
It's very out. I don't think we need that.
Nope. Okay.
All right.
Going through these nice and fast. School community relations, E30. I don't. Conceptually, I'm not sure that I would disagree with the idea of a policy like this. I don't think that RVUSD is in a place that it needs it or will need it for a long time to come. Assuming that any of the six of us, remain on the board for years, I think I think we have a really good method for having community relations. It may not always be great, like right now, where they think we're taking the school away, but
I told you.
no, I knew I knew it was going to happen. But I said, Rich is doing me a huge favor of picking up my mail for me. So when he dropped it off the other day, we were talking and said something about that. And I said, listen, I knew it was going to happen, but we've been talking since before Act 46, before the merger, about the need to do a high level overview. We owe it to the taxpayers. And it's gonna ruffle some feathers. But we're not talking about making a change. We're talking about seeing what's out there. But I definitely think we can improve communications. I don't know exactly how we do that, but that's not a policy issue.
I think you just have to be very clear every time, like due diligence, not an action plan. Like, I think, yeah, just keeping that messaging solid.
So where are we? So E30, we're good with that,
Yep.
right?
Good with that. So the next one's E32, visits by parents, community members, or media. Interviewing, filming, videotaping, or recording.
I
I
guess
think this is procedure like that the schools are going to follow.
that's what I was going to say. I feel like this is something that the administration should.
Yep. I don't think this is a board level. I think we should skip this.
I think it's something we could look at if it ever became an issue, but I just don't see it necessary for us.
And again, it's one that they haven't touched since 2009. So I don't think it's a pressing issue.
Like the last of the policies that we have to go over, they're all 2009.
They're all 2009. Let me just peek at some of these guys. That's procedural. We're developing budgets that are outlined in the strategic and annual action plans and responsive to community needs.
Well, that is it is procedural, but remember the board doesn't have procedures. So while I don't think we need this policy, I think it could be appropriate for a board to adopt this policy. I don't think we have an issue with how we do budgets, though.
No.
And we don't hear that. We don't hear the community saying that we have got an issue. So school crisis prevention and response procedure for bomb threats. That is definitely administration. There's a relatively substantial call an action plan. I don't know. I can't place the name that at least Dover and I assume Wardsboro does annually. That gets reviewed. The emergency manager for the town. And I think that's where those procedures belong more than at the board level.
I agree. I don't think we need to move forward with that.
And I can tell you that we definitely don't need F-33.
No.
I don't even know what it says, but I don't want it.
Nope.
This is that stuff is all written into HIPAA and FERPA. That is just, we don't need that.
Yep. Okay. So no new ones to really add to the list.
No, I put A31, at least ask the VSBA for an update, and then A34 I want to talk about with board norms, which assuming that there are no other policies that we want to take up and nobody has brought one to us, I'm going to move on to next meeting dates, which I think we set last time.
Yep. August 13th and September 10th.
So we are good with those. Future agenda items. Eventually I'll get to the board use email policy. I'm not making any promises at this point.
No worries.
We have the list of
If we make it through all these policies, we can just use this as a work session, so we can.
True, very true. And get through the RFP.
Yes, that would be good. So
we've got the 5 that we chose to look at last month. So we will get those worked into the agenda. And then I would like to talk about board norms. Board norms is a concept that is recommended, I think, by the NSBA, the National School Board Association, and has made its way down. It's something that I was first exposed to watching West River's meetings. They actually have on their little card, their name placards, because they've got, I don't know, 15 members of their board or something. They actually have on the back of their name placard some board norms. At the beginning of every meeting, they do a quick review of the board norms. Other things like, we won't speak out of turn, respect other people's opinions. I'd have to look up what kind of the standard template is for them. But there have been some situations that have come up with us where I thought that having something like that, more for the public than for us per se, just so that they know how we are behaving or intend to behave.
I think that would be super beneficial, because I was not aware of like the board norms when joining the board, and that whole calling on that was very interesting to get used to.
Not speaking like out of turn, and
I had no idea that I was misstepping.
That's okay. I don't, what was it, 3 or 4 months ago, Rich yelled at me for stepping out of turn. We've all done it. And it's a lot, it's harder on Zoom to not do it. Because you're not making eye contact and saying, it's like, okay, it's not, Rich isn't turning to someone and then essentially saying, go ahead and speak. So yeah, why don't I bring something to the next, our next meeting, a standard set of them or something, and then we can go through them and decide what would make sense for River Valleys.
Okay.
And then I think it's something that we just kind of add to the, kind of like right now we've got at the beginning of the agenda, we have, Rich talks about members of the public have 4 minutes, and I don't remember all of them off the top of my head, but there are 2 or 3 things that he says at the beginning of most meetings. So we would just add something like that about board norms. If you ever have a spare 5 minutes and want to look at the beginning of a West River meeting, I would actually recommend you go back before the pandemic and look at one. The chair that they had then, I thought handled it a little bit better than the chair that they have now. But that's worth 5 minutes of your time if you can. They're all on Brattleboro TV's site.
Okay.
And yeah, so we'll talk about that at the next meeting. It's pretty amazing. It's exactly 10 o'clock. Since we are not meeting as a policy committee, I'm gonna adjourn the meeting if you're good with
Okay.
that. All right, so we will adjourn at 10 o'clock. Going to stop the recording.